Welcome into Get Me The Brandy, Hailey Hunter alongside Josh Getzoff as we get closer and closer to this Olympic break, Josh. And we did have some good news and some bad news this week as Bryan Rust finally coming back after missing a couple of games. Quick out for him not being in the lineup. But Erik Karlsson, on the other hand, not going to see him for a couple of weeks at least due to a lower body injury. It looks like by the time he could be reevaluated, we're just about a week away from him going to Italy to represent Team Sweden. So hoping he'll be good for that. But hey, how about the loss this is for the Penguins as they've got 11 games over the next 20 games coming up here?
Yeah, this is a big loss, Haley. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that, and our listeners certainly don't. But this is a guy that I feel like the last couple of years we've seen the point total, and guys around the league always say to me, "Why you guys complain so much? He's putting up 50 points, 60 points. Teams would kill to have a defenseman to do that." But it
Yeah,
was the flaws within all those points, right? That were the kind of the decisions that he made, some of the turnovers, some of the defensive lapses. And I got to be honest, this year none of that's been there, but the points still have been, right? Like he's
yeah,
been an incredible player for the Penguins. You could argue their most consistent defenseman, which is an incredible compliment to what he was from last year to this year. And he just means so much to them in all facets of the game. So I'm really intrigued to see and honestly, quite just to be real, a little nervous to see how the Penguins handle, as you mentioned, a minimum of 2 weeks without this guy. And who knows? That's the minimum, so it could very likely be more. And you mentioned the Olympic break too. I'm sure that there's a
yeah,
priority for Carl, understandably so, to want to be ready for Sweden. So they have
for
to
sure.
juggle that as well.
It's kind of weird because I talked to him for a really long time in the locker room post game after that game in Boston. He seemed totally fine. But like what happened with Gino the other day, we thought he was fine too. And he wakes up the next day and his shoulder, he could barely move it. So I guess we'll find out in a couple of weeks what actually happened with him. Hopefully it's nothing serious. But with that, I'm kind of curious, like, do you think we're going to start to see some other defensemen try to be more offensive minded, try to chip in more to fill that void? Not that we haven't actually seen that a little bit more from the entire decor as of late.
No, no question. I think you have to, right? I mean, if you're the Penguins, you have to fill this by committee. It's not just one guy. I mean, the thing with Carlson this year that I think has been most impressive, I know you've talked to him about this, is yes, the power play. He's been huge on that top five power play in the NHL. He's been a really the quarterback of it throughout the entire
Yeah,
season. But the PK with him this year, to me, is even more impressive because he'd never killed penalties before this year. And
right.
credit to Dan Muse and Mike Stothers for thinking about this guy maybe outside the box as far as the opportunity to go out there and be a killer. And he has, and he's been awesome. And the Penguins PK has benefited as a result. So
Yeah.
you take away that and the time on ice in both those situations. And I mean, obviously, the first guy that comes to mind is Chris Letang, right? Who was
Mhm.
who was great. I thought really good against Tampa on Tuesday in his first audition, so to speak, without
Yeah.
Carlson. And I do think there's an element of Letang that when it's just him and he's just the guy, you get a better version of him than when he kind of has to share duties. Whether he
For
wants
sure.
to say that out loud or not, I think that's just a reality if you look at the proof of the performance for him in those
Yeah.
situations. But the other two guys that I would mention, you talked to one of them after the period last night, was Brett Kulak, who's going to get more opportunity on that second power play. Already is doing a lot of penalty kill time, and Connor
Yeah.
Clifton. Um, Man, I mean, Connor Clifton is a guy that has been in and out of the lineup, has seen a long time as a scratch, but now he's going to get a chance. And for a
Mhm.
guy that's going into a contract year, I don't know if there's a better opportunity for a player to come in, make an impact in a positive way. And really, if the Penguins can continue to stack points and move in the standings without Erik Karlsson, Connor Clifton's going to have a big say in that with how he performs here over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up because Dan Muse and I were talking about just the value that his physicality brings to the game before that game against Tampa. And what an eventful third period. But I found it so funny how, like, everybody in that whole mix of trying to figure out the right call to be made, calls plural, I should say, we're all kind of freaking out. And then Cliffy's just sitting there in the penalty box, like, looks like he's having a spa day or something. Like, I've been here before, just totally calm and relaxed. Like, have you noticed how just nonchalant and calm this guy is? Because it just seems like one time he's on top of Sorelli throwing some punches, and then he's just celebrating with the fans for the military hero in the penalty box.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed that too. I mean, he is. I think that's just his personality. I feel like in a
Yeah.
way we're still getting to know him a little bit because he has been out of the lineup so often. So just that normal game day routine, you're not getting the opportunity to talk to him as much and get to know him as well. But I take away that that is kind of who he is and how he's wired. I don't want to say happy go lucky, but it kind of is in a way with how he just
This is how
approaches
I
the
play
game.
hockey.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He just wants to play hockey. He's physical. He's not afraid to be physical. That's going to earn him a spot on an NHL roster 10 times out of 10. And, last night I didn't like the hit on Hagel. It's on the numbers, but he answered the bell when the Lightning came after him and he fought Sorelli and that's who he is. He's going to play on the edge. He's going to sometimes go over the edge. But he's not afraid to answer for what other people feel is too much. And by
Yeah.
the way, I don't think Anthony Cirelli will be challenging him to a fight again anytime soon because he got a couple good licks in on him.
No, I do not think so. I think Sorelli is well aware of who Connor Clifton is, if he already did not know who he is. But yeah, no, so much fun to watch and something the Penguins haven't really had for quite some time, other than Boko Imama. Kind of Cliffy's the next guy up in terms of that physicality. But back to Bryan Rust back in the lineup, you could tell more than ready to get back out there. I think he had 4 shots on goal in the first 25 minutes of the game. So as you look at the stretch leading up to the Olympic break, I know that the Penguins scoring just 1 goal in their 2 games prior going into that game against Tampa was not just because Rusty wasn't in the lineup. You saw some great defense from Calgary and Boston, but how important is it going to be to have him up there on that top line with Sid and Rax as they try to string some wins together and get back to winning again?
It's huge because the
Yeah.
balance of this team is their best asset. And when they were really going, and I hate to always reference back to October, but that's the best version of the Penguins that we've seen.
Yep.
They were going and they had all 4 lines rolling, and you had the right combinations of guys, both on the back end and up front. And injuries happen. Every team's dealing with them, and some are dealing with them way worse than the Penguins are. I mean, look at the Lightning last night. No Point, no Hedman, no McDonough. Like they're
Yep.
they're missing some. Those are potentially, you can make an argument for all three that they could be in the Hall of Fame when their career is
Yeah.
done and they're all out of the lineup. So, the Penguins have had to soldier some major injuries too. I'm not excusing them either, but
Yep.
to get Rust back, I just think you immediately see it because him and Sidney Crosby have this kind of unspoken chemistry. It's not quite, in my opinion, at the level it was for Jake Gensel and Sidney Crosby, but it's still extremely effective. And Ricard Raquel's a really good complement to those guys. So I think Raquel's still kind of getting his way back underneath him after coming back from injury. I feel like it's been a longer, return to getting back to form than maybe we anticipated for him.
Yeah.
But Russ, to his credit, he comes back, he leads the team with 6 shots on goal. I'm sure, just like when he took that puck to the net in overtime last night and did that patented Bryan Rust on the backhand, and you knew the forehand sweep was coming. I thought the game
Hmm.
was over, but unable
We
to
wanted it
convert. But
so bad, didn't we?
yeah,
Oh, so bad.
he's he's a spark plug, and he's really just evolved into just such a consistent player. And Mike Sullivan always used to say it, but I think it still reigns true that if any young player is looking at a guy to model themselves after that isn't with the star pedigree of a first round pick, a first top 10 pick, something like that, that's your guy. I mean, he just works his tail off, and he's worked his way up in his career, and he's earned everything he's gotten. And
Yeah.
I think the world of him as far as how he's evolved as a player and a person. And you can see how the Penguins are just much better with him being available.
100%. Yeah, Sully was always so excited to make those comments about Rusty and trying to show out in front of his best friend Jake Gensel, I'm sure, against Tampa. I saw that he's still doing his pregame routine where he comes out there and he sits on the bench and just kind of ponders things for a little bit. You put it on your Instagram story. Was he waving to you? It almost looked like
He
he
was,
saw you or something.
oh yeah, he was waving. He was doing some other stuff that I didn't put on camera because PG audience. What he was awesome. I mean, we still miss him here. He's just a great guy. But man, they have a heck of a team, and him and Kucherov, even without Point, anytime they're on the ice, that was just appointment TV, appointment watching. If you're in the stands, they're awesome, and we can all cheer for Jake again in what, less than a month when he's wearing the red, white, and blue in
That's
Italy.
right.
So
Well,
yeah,
that'll feel good. That'll feel good. Yeah, that
yeah.
top line was pretty scary in the first period. You kind of saw it right away against Tampa. But with that, the most important question is probably what's better, the Rusty shake or the Jake shake? I asked Jake this last season, And he laughed. He thought it was hysterical and made sure that I told Rusty that the Jake Shake will always be better. But what do you think?
So full disclosure, I actually never had the Jake Shake.
What?
Which
Oh my
let's be
gosh.
honest, how many opportunities did I have to get it with all the goals he scored in his career as a Penguin? But never had it. I have had the Rusty Shake. We actually got it. I think you were with me on opening night either last year or the year before. They had
That's
it in the
right.
press box,
Yep.
and oh my gosh, I slept like a baby that night, first of all. And second of all, that thing was unbelievable. So I would say just based on what I've had, the Rusty Shake is my choice, but the ingredients of the Jake Shake speak to me a little bit more. So I think that would have been up my alley also, but I've only ever had the Rusty Shake, so I got to side with Rusty.
Well, typical Sidney Crosby, I asked him his favorite to get his response to that argument last season. And he pondered a little bit. He said, I think that they'd probably have to taste about the same. Of course, Sid's not going to pick sides between his two buddies, but so
Right.
fortunate that last night, one of our security guys at PPG Paints Arena, Norm, was actually handing them out on the way out. So I took one, and
Whoa.
that was a nice way to enjoy my 40-minute drive back to where I live rink. So, but I got three-quarters of the way into it and I was like, man, I am like, this is like so much sugar. So I would love to know how much sugar is in those things because I'm like, I can't finish this thing. I'm gonna get a headache. I don't know how people eat
Yeah.
like those.
Right. Yeah. I
Pretty
mean, like you got people lining up at the milkshake factory when he scores.
I know.
It's a great initiative. Don't get me wrong, but I agree with
Really.
you. It packs a punch in that milkshake.
Yeah, it really does.
Here, we don't just watch the Penguins, we live every tipped puck.
Unbelievable.
Every battle.
Give me more of this.
Every new prospect.
This is a glimpse of the future.
Everything you love about the Pens, we do too.
I'm down here between the benches.
You know what that means, Pens fans?
Cheers for that.
The front, did they score?
We manifested it.
Stream the Penguins all season long on SNP 360.
Well, everyone's excited, of course, to have Rusty back, but how about the excitement for Stuart Skinner right now? We didn't really know what to expect from him. How is he going to handle a new place in Pittsburgh? A little bit of a tough start, but not easy to come into a team that's lost 9 of their last 10. That was a tough stretch. Now he's won 3 of his last 4. This is huge for the Penguins for him to be feeling himself right now. I believe the last 4 games, he's allowed no more than 1 goal, Josh.
Yeah, he's been excellent. I felt bad for him. I'm sure you did too in Boston on Sunday because
Yeah.
Korpisalo played good at the other end. I felt like the Penguins didn't make it super difficult for him, but Stuart Skinner played really well and had to make some really good saves. A couple come to mind on David Pastrnak, but I think that what he's had happen here is it's become real for him that he's a Pittsburgh Penguin. That
Yeah.
whole beginning sequence was so bizarre. I mean, it was, get traded, you make your debut against your former team. One of your good buddies gets his 1,000th point against you on the first goal of the game. Everything just probably felt so strange for him. And I think it probably continued to. But just like for the team getting that holiday break at the right time, I feel like it also happened for Skinner at the right time because, you've talked to him. His family came out. He's got them here now. His kids have been at games. They've been able to be around him. It just does
Yeah.
so much more for your mind. I mean, your performance is one thing, but if you're not good between the ears, you're not going to perform well. And I
Yeah.
think he now is at that spot, and he's more comfortable. He's become quickly, as you've said, a fan favorite. I mean, I had to laugh out loud a couple times calling the game his last game because when he touches the puck at home, even if he just comes out of his net to stop it, Stu, like
It
it's not
sounds
even
like
with the
you're
save.
doing him, doesn't it? Like you have to get used to it. It's Stu, not boo. And he actually told me,
Right.
he's like, no, it's perfect because when they do boo me, I'm just going to mentally tell myself that they're saying Stu. I'm like, of course, a goalie would already be thinking about how he's going to mentally handle that.
Oh yeah, I mean that guy has dealt with a lot. Like that was a
Yeah,
burning furnace that he was in Edmonton for the last few years. So not to
for
say
sure.
that there's no pressure here. For sure there is. And I think for
Yeah,
him personally, there's pressure too, right? Like he's going into a contract. So he
yeah,
needs to prove himself that he can get another deal, whether that's in Pittsburgh or elsewhere. Same for Artie Shelovs. But I've been impressed by him as a person. And I think to your point, those last 3 or 4 starts have really started to show us what he could be as a goalie for the Penguins. But
Yeah.
They've gotten better goaltending overall. They played better team defense overall, really out of the holiday break. And I think that's kind of been a perfect combination to have both these guys really settle in.
Yeah, it's really helped create a better environment for them. I actually ran into Stu a couple days ago at Mediterra I was with our very own Sportsnet Pittsburgh's Hannah Mears having lunch, and he was there for the first time I always recommend to wives and girlfriends to go there because I feel like it's just such a nice spot. But got to meet Bo and Darcy, his two kids, as well as his lovely wife. And yeah, they're just having a time. They seem to really be liking it so far in Pittsburgh. And I shared this on air, but for anybody who's listening who didn't hear this, I was joking with him about not naming his two kids starting with the letter S, Josh, because remember, he's the youngest of 9 siblings, and their mom and dad, Sam and Susan, named them all with names starting with the letter S. So I keep joking with him about that, but it was kind of cool to hear his story about just what it's like to grow up with 8 siblings. They were all involved in figure skating, ballet, or hockey. I mean, Josh, you have 2 kids of your own. Can you imagine the miles that Miss Susan was putting on that car trying to get every kid to where they needed to be? That sounds like a lot.
That is a lot. I mean, I sometimes we haven't quite entered the crazy activity phase, but we're getting there. My oldest just started skating lessons last weekend, so we're starting to the schedule's starting to become. It's not just to and from daycare; it's little things throughout. So I can't imagine managing 8 different schedules, and they're not all the same age. So some kids are going through things for the first time. Some kids are established, with playing sports or going to different kinds of classes and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
full
totally.
marks to the Skinner family. They laid the foundation for obviously discipline and structure, but also hard work for those kids. So that's great to see. And I did crack up, and I still have to give you credit for the line you used in that hit on the family in Boston with the 10th potentially being named Stop. that's
Yep.
that's so good. Stop
His
Skinner.
dad, best dad joke. If we had a 10th kid, we name him Stop. Yeah. You and
I,
Kobe got
I
a kick out of that one.
that was top notch. I love that one.
So good. Yeah, I've read a couple articles since with that quote, so I'm sure that the dad's loving all the attention with his best dad joke with that one. But it was also interesting. Stu was telling me that his parents did everything they could to make sure that he would not be a goalie. They had like a backyard rink, and so his dad would have all the siblings go out there and just fire like bulldoze shots at him to make him not want to be a goalie. But then he told me that there was this peewee tryout and the goalie didn't show up, and he was like, I went against my family's word. Like I signed up to be the goalie. And then he joked, he's like, I don't think they really cared after that because they had 8 other siblings running around to worry about, so they kind of just let me do what I wanted to do. But so thankful for that peewee goalie for not showing up. Like, who knows, maybe Stu would never have been a goaltender in the NHL. We don't know
That's
who he
true. I
is,
mean,
so thank you.
yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, it set him on the trajectory, and I feel like when you're younger, to me at least, I always thought like goalie was cool because you're on the ice the whole time and you're playing the whole time.
Yeah,
Every other position you're
I can see that.
changing, you got to get off and sit on the bench for a little bit, but goalie you're in the mix all the time. But as you know, and anybody who's familiar with the game of hockey knows, people who play goal, they're a little different in here.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants 100 plus
Wanna-
mile an hour shots fired at them from all directions willingly is wired differently up there. So
Yeah.
full marks to him. He's made a heck of a career doing it.
It's difficult, as you mentioned, some of the heat that he took in Edmonton. I'm sure that's part of the reason that his parents didn't really maybe wanted to shy him away from being goalie. I asked him if Bo and Darcy, if he would be encouraging them to be goaltenders one day, and he pretty quickly said no. I don't think so. You got to deal with a lot mentally up there. Then he went into telling me about how he wants to maybe be a life coach one day. So I'm sure he's learned a lot from the position of mentally handling the pressure of
Yeah.
of being a goalie. But so far, so good. We've heard nothing but Stu chants at PPG Paints Arena. I love the nickname. And somebody brought this to my attention the other day is that, we know like all these guys' nicknames and we often just casually refer to them by their nickname. But I think there's a lot of fans that don't know the nickname. So I thought it would be fun to just go through the team and see if all of the nicknames and fans can try to guess back at home. So you ready? We're going to see if you can get
All
all
right.
of them.
Let's see
Okay,
how many I can get.
we got Stu, but Justin Brazeau.
Braz.
Braz, you got it. Okay.
All right, good. That
Igor
one seemed
Kunikov.
obvious. Chinny.
I actually didn't know that one, so thank you for that because he's new and I haven't had a chance to ask him yet. Chinny, really?
Yeah,
Okay, that's a
I
good one.
I think so. Don't quote me on that, but that seems like it's right.
This is a hard one. I don't think anyone knows this one. His name is Sidney Crosby.
Sid.
Sid. All right, moving on. Connor Dewar.
Dewey.
Dewey. Philip Hollander. Haven't seen him in a while.
Ooh, Holly.
I heard Holly. Yep. Nola
Yeah,
Chari.
okay.
Most interesting one on the
Cookie.
team. Cookie.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, he was very upset that the Florida Panthers didn't have cookies at their pregame meal. And ever since then, I forget what Panther it was. Maybe you remember Josh, but was making fun of him, named him Cookie. We'll have to follow up on that, but it's stuck in the league. Kevin Hayes,
Hazy.
Ben Kindle, new guy.
Kindy.
Kindy, yep. Blake Lizotte.
All right. Lizzo, which I have to say
Lizzo.
the first time Mike Sullivan 2 years ago referred to him as Lizzo in the opening press conference, and we didn't know that nickname, I almost laughed out loud because we know the former artist Lizzo that had that name before Blake Lizotte came into the picture, and I was like, wait, what? But it makes a lot of sense now, and it kind of works for him.
Yeah, I think I remember being confused and genuinely not knowing who he was talking about. Sully did
Yeah,
that a couple
right.
times. Like, whenever the season started, I'm like, wait a second, I got to get all these nicknames down. Evgeny Malkin, obviously. Gino, we know that. Or
You know.
G.
Yep.
Anthony Mantha, this is an interesting one.
So this one I only know because I've heard guys calling him it. I have now. I tried, like most of the time when I talk to these guys in the locker room, I may refer to their nickname, but in public
Yeah.
I don't just say it as much. But Mo, I'm pretty sure, right?
It's Mo. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, and it's crazy because truly, like, teammates do not refer to their teammates with their first name ever. It's weird if you do. So, yeah, you're never going to hear Anthony. You're just going to hear Mo. And it's because a writer, he said, wrote this whole story on him when he was with Detroit about how he was related to Mo Mantha. And Anthony was like, I'm not at all related to him. Like, he just wrote this whole thing. And I'm not even related to this guy. And so all the Red Wings thought it was so funny. They're like, you know what? We're going to call you Mo. So that is literally the only reason that he is called Mo, because, you don't really think of Mo when you see his name written out. But yeah,
No.
that's his name. Now you know.
Okay, that is
Rucker
good to know.
McGoy, he's Rut. We both know
Right.
that.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know Tommy Novak.
Tommy. I don't know. That might be it.
We can
Tommy.
dive into that one. Ricard Racal, everyone knows Rax, Bryan Rust, Rusty, Connor Clifton,
Cliffy.
Cliffy, Ryan Graves. I feel like most people know that
Gravy.
one. Gravy. We're almost done. Erik Karlsson, Carl, Brett Kulak,
Oh.
new guy.
Cooley.
I heard Cooley last night, which is
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Chris Letang. I didn't even try. Chris Letang. Tanger, obviously. Ryan Shea. This is different.
Yeah, I heard you call him this the other night. That's how I know. Shazo, right?
Bezo, yeah. And this is why it was important to do this, because I feel like I thank the guys all the time in their nickname, but a lot of people are probably like, "What? Like, who is she? Why is she thanking Cookie? Like, what does that even mean?" Jack St. Ivy, Parker Wotherspoon.
So
Know
I
that
actually
one?
didn't know it's Jack St. Ivany was Ivy. Okay, that's good to
Oh,
know. I call
really?
him Jack.
Yeah.
I've always called him Jacko. That's what I've referred. I don't know
Oh,
why. I just called him
some of the
that
guys
once,
have
and
two
it's kind of
nicknames.
stuck. So yeah,
Okay. Parker Wotherspoon. You know this one?
spoons.
Spoons. Yep, I like that one. I feel like that's one of the
Yeah,
cooler ones. And then I don't know, Artur Sheloffs. I think just maybe Artie. I don't know
Artie.
anything other than
Yeah,
I think just Artie.
yeah.
But isn't that crazy? So this is if you ever hear it on air, now you know who we're talking about. I love it.
Reference
And
back to
speaking of,
this. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Inside Penguins Hockey is back
Let's go eat sushi.
for an all-new season.
And now he's your best friend.
Yeah.
Getting a line in the water is always a joy for me.
Inside Penguins Hockey. New episodes every month on SportsNet Pittsburgh. Presented by UPMC Health Plan.
Speaking of Lizzo, how much we like that nickname. Really big news for him. 3-year contract extension. Man, how deserving is this guy of that? Because especially with him having a baby in a couple of months, like, I feel like the timing of this just could not have come better for his family to kind of have an idea of where they're going to be, Josh.
100%. I mean, that that has got to be just such a cleansing moment for him mentally and his family in general, like you said, to know that, yeah, maybe they have their off-season home or whatever, but they don't have to worry about after this year starting up somewhere else new potentially via free agency because he'll be
Yeah.
here. He'll be here. I mean, count this year for the next 4 seasons. And it's interesting because people are going to look at those stats there and they're like, wow, he got a 3-year extension. He has 10 points. But you and I know, and anybody who watches this team knows that he is the Energizer Bunny and he is the heartbeat deeper in this lineup. I mean, I can't even count the amount of times this year that the Penguins have needed a moment or needed a good shift or a momentum changing shift or just even a forecheck to get themselves reignited in the game, that it's been him. And he's been the guy that's made something happen. So, the record speaks for itself too. What, 20 of their 21 wins have come when he's been in the lineup. So,
Yeah,
proof in
it's
the
crazy
pudding right
stat.
there.
Yeah, and they have points in it would be now 27 of the 36 games that he is slotted into the lineup. They have points too, which is just insane. I think this is a good question though. So when it comes to this deal, how much do you feel this is more about short-term stability for the team or long-term identity for their bottom six as you look towards the future of the Pens?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Penguins, I think in a perfect world, Kyle Dubas has said that the contention window could open up as soon as, I mean, obviously they're in the mix right now, but they've surprised a lot of people in doing that. But the contention window really could open up as soon as next year.
Yeah.
And I think you look at Blake Lizotte and it's like, okay, what do all great teams have? They have a great checking line. They have a line
Yep.
that's incredibly hard to play against that can be a good matchup line, but also can be a good shutdown line and give you that spark. And those guys have done that. The interesting thing to me is going to be how they form the other two sides around him because both Dewar and Achari are on expiring deals. Not to say they potentially wouldn't come back also, but I think that the wheels have been set in motion that whoever's going to be there, Lizotte's going to anchor them. And, does Blake Lizotte maybe with this deal get more opportunity to move up the lineup a bit? Maybe. I don't know. There's a possibility there. But what I can say is with the cap going up the way it's going up, that contract at just over $2 million a year is an absolute bargain for the Penguins, who are still going to have what $50+ million in cap space going into this summer.
Yeah.
So you get a nice integral piece deeper into your lineup locked up, and I think in the NHL. Correct me if I'm wrong, Haley. If you disagree, that's fine. But I think in the NHL, 3 years is long term.
Oh,
I think with how
days.
impatient GMs are, how impatient fan bases are, owners, all that stuff. If you're locking somebody up for 3 years, you're feeling like they're going to be a part of the puzzle for the longer term. And I think Lizotte could be that for the Penguins. And the fun part for him too is he will be, I believe, 31 when this deal's up. So he'll be in line for one more contract. And that's what he's got to be thinking too. You build yourself up these next 3 years and you potentially can get one more deal for an undrafted guy. Pretty impressive route that he's charted.
Yeah, and you mentioned like 3 years being a pretty long deal, especially for somebody who's a bottom six, fourth line player. And not to that's not to diminish what he brings to this team, but just generally speaking, a bottom six player that's pretty good. By the way, the NHL Edge, don't they track speed bursts nowadays? Because I've been
Yeah.
meaning to look at that and see where he ranks because he's got to be up there, right? Some of his speed bursts, like back checking, are pretty insane. Have you ever looked at that stat before?
Yeah, he is up there. The other guy on the Penguins who's up there a lot is Erik Karlsson, ironically, who we started off the podcast talking about. But yeah,
Yeah.
those two guys, they're definitely towards the top for the Penguins at least. I mean, you won't be surprised to know who leads the league. Let's see if you can guess. Can you
McDavid.
guess? Speed burst? Yeah, easy.
Yeah,
I mean, I
100%.
think the separation, the last I looked with our producer, Matt Aaron, during broadcast was he of 20 miles an hour or more speed burst. McDavid had 60 more than the next closest guy in the league. So
But I'm not surprised
um,
because that's literally how he plays the entire game for the full 60 minutes. It's pretty crazy.
we'll see him next week. Can't wait to see him live again.
Oh yeah. Can't wait. Here we go, Pence. Okay. And we won't have Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
Hey, with that, you mentioned just like the cap space and stuff. What do you think? We're nearing the NHL trade deadline. I feel like this fall and winter has just flown by, but you think Dubas is going to be busy this year? He's already been busy, just in the
Right.
regular season in general.
I'm curious to see how he handles this because if you're
Yeah.
looking around the division right now, I mean, that's Kyle's always said, and I don't disagree with him, that the easiest way, not the easiest way, but the most convenient way to get to the playoffs is to handle your division. And
Yeah.
they have this year. They are 8-1-3 in Metro games. They only won 9 last year. So they're already almost at the point that they were at last year, and they're not even, 3/4 of the way through this season. They got 2 big
Yeah.
ones coming up with Philly on Thursday and Columbus on Saturday before going out west. And I
Mhm.
think if you look at where they're at and you look around the division, like there's a ton of drama with the Rangers. Columbus just fired their coach. There's a ton of drama with the Devils. I mean, it's there to take. If you want to try to climb into that top
Yeah.
three, I think it's there. It's there to take for the Penguins. And I'll be curious to see how Kyle Dubas operates and goes about this. Now, the caveat is not having Karlsson for at least the next 2 weeks is a huge loss and could really change things as far as their results are concerned. But
Yeah.
the other side of the coin is like the trade deadline to me is interesting this year because you have the Olympic break, and that really runs almost up until the deadline. I mean, I think the
No.
deadline's the first week of March. The Olympic breaks till the last week of February. So if you're going to make a trade, do you want to acquire a guy that potentially is going to be playing in the Olympics, might get hurt? Let's just call it for what it is. And that changes
Great
everything.
point.
Or do you wait until after the Olympics? And if you're one of those teams that's holding a guy that could be traded and he gets hurt, you now have a player that you can't move. So I don't know. That's
It's
why
just
Kyle Dubas makes a lot more money than us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a little bit above our pay grades, but
Yeah.
really good points. And that's why I bring it up because I feel like that trade deadline is going to be here before we know it. We're going to blink and it's going to be here once again this year. Well, with that, time for some cup convos as we take our weekly look back. As always, the 10th anniversary of the Pens 2016 Cup win. I cannot believe it's been a decade. Time flies, but that just shows that we're getting old for saying that. But this week in Penguins history, the Penguins traded David Perron and defenseman Adam Clendening to the Ducks for forward Carl Hagelin, who we actually just briefly got to say hello to at the Global Series in Sweden. Josh, nice to say a quick hello to him. But of course, a big part of the Penguins' HBK line in 2016 also scored the cup-clinching empty netter in that 2017 Cup final. But Josh, what do you remember about his arrival to the team? You see the stats there and just kind of how the impact that he made for the team as well.
The first thing that I remember about that, Haley, was the irony of his arrival, because Penguins fans will know that the year previous, he scored the overtime winner to knock the Penguins out of the playoffs with the New York Rangers,
Oh, good
and then
memory.
went to Anaheim. Yeah, so it was kind
Yeah.
of a weird plot twist to be the elixir of the Penguins the previous spring, and then to come back and join them and be the ultimate shot in the arm for a team that, as you just highlighted, went on to win back-to-back cups with him playing a huge role. The other thing that comes to mind is right when he came on board, there was another trade that happened similarly around that time, where the Penguins moved guys that, in the sense of Perron, who's still playing right now and has carved himself out a really, really nice career. He won a cup in 2019 with the Blues, but he didn't
Yeah.
quite fit the way that Mike Sullivan wanted to play. There was another guy named Rob Scuderi, who Penguins fans know, that also didn't quite fit that way. He traded
Mhm.
those two guys. Perron netted Hagelin, Scuderi netted Trevor Daley, and what it gave the Penguins were two more mobile players, one on the back end in Daley, but one up front with Hagelin. And in Hagelin's case, a guy that could kill penalties, a guy that can move up and down the lineup. And, for what his career is worth, had awesome and career-like numbers during that stretch in 2016 after getting acquired by the Penguins. So I felt like a big reason for that a lot of people didn't know until he was acquired was he is best friends, as we know now, with Patrick Hornquist.
Yeah.
And when that trade went down, he revealed that. Hornquist revealed that. Those two hit it off immediately. It was huge for the locker room. It was a big boost, I think, obviously on the ice too, like I said.
For
But he was just a great addition. Played a huge role in that team. And the HBK line, it's funny. Like we've talked about this in the past, they were unbelievable, but they only formed because of Genny Malkin got hurt. I mean, it was Gino between Hagelin and Kessel before
Thanks.
he got hurt. Yeah, and Nick Bonino bumped up, and the rest is history. So that's kind of was the funny aspect to that. But
I
yeah,
need
I can't say enough about that guy. He's an awesome guy. It was great to see him in Sweden a couple months ago, which
Yeah.
also crazy to believe that was already a couple months ago that we were in Sweden. But yeah, it's flying.
Hey, he's rocking the flow still too. He's retired, but he's still rocking that flow. So, what do you think? Him, Yager, Carlson,
Oh,
can't hanger. Who's got the best the flow?
oh man, you can't go against Yager, especially when he had that curly mullet coming out of the back. Like that is still to this day, that is just elite. I don't think you could. You have guys that wear mullet. I mean, we did it a couple years ago when they retired his number. You have guys that wear mullet wigs to
Yeah,
try to
former
emulate
Russian boy.
the right. We try to emulate the majesticness of that mullet back in the day. Like that was one of a kind. But Carlson and Letang have great hair, but iconic hair, it's got to be Yager. I put that mullet
Wear
up
one of
against
those wigs
anybody.
so bad, Josh. I think one of you guys put it on in the booth? I wanted to wear it for
Yeah,
my Yager bobblehead hit. I thought was it you who put
I
the
did.
wig
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You have a picture of
I
that?
put
We might need to dig that up.
Yeah, I have it somewhere. I have the mullet somewhere too. It has not been discarded. It's still somewhere in my house.
Okay.
For the pain of my family to have to endure that mullet being around and occasionally making appearances.
Good to
But
know at
yeah,
some point.
I will say also just for a quick shout out for great hockey hair. This was
Yeah.
greasy, but to me, still one of the most disgusting but awesome at the same time hockey head of hairs that I've ever seen is Al Iafrate. He's got like the Dan Potash haircut with what I mean is no
Oh my
hair right here. But then
Uh-huh.
it kind of picks up in the back of the head and goes into a mullet. So like Friar Tuck with a mullet. Think that. That's what he
That's
was
great.
going on. Yeah.
Wow. Does Dan know that you feel that way? That they have, similar hairstyles? Or did, I should say?
Uh if he finds out, he will not be surprised that I said that. But he also probably him, he probably wouldn't talk to me for a week. So we'll see if he
Yeah.
listens or not.
I forgot my brush at the intermission desk the other day from post game, so I had to go back up for the next game and get it. And I grabbed it underneath the desk and said, "I don't think you're going to be needing this tonight, Dan." And he got a
Ooh.
good laugh out of that. But yeah,
Yep.
you got to be careful. We don't want to pick on him too much. We love Dan.
No,
Um,
no, we do love that.
Speaking of Dan, you're going to get a lot of quality time with him on the Western Canada road trip coming up. Hey, 9 days. Is this the longest road trip for the Pens this season? I believe it might be. I don't know if
Is it?
anything
Oh,
tops
it
it.
is 9 days, isn't it? Because we come. Man, wow. Yeah, that is. It's got to be. I don't know about
Up
that Carolina trip. How long's that one? That one when we bookend Carolina. That's
there. Ooh,
another
that
one
one.
that's a decent poke.
Yep, you
Yeah.
start in Carolina and you come back in Carolina. Well, regardless, it's got to be top two, top three. But if you had to pick your favorite road trip, what do you think it is? Is it Western Canada? Is it California? Is it Eastern Canada, or is that out west trip where I believe it's Vegas, Colorado, Utah? For me, it's Cali.
Um.
I love the fact that I can walk 40 minutes from where we stay in Newport to the beach. I don't think you can beat that. But what do you think?
No, I would agree. Cali's awesome. I think from a pure arena perspective, I love when
Yeah,
we go up to Montreal and Toronto. Like it just feels
yeah,
like hockey up there.
it
But
does.
from the experience of being outside the rink and enjoying yourself, this one is up there. I love Western Canada.
Yeah,
I think people knock on Calgary and Edmonton a lot, but I find them both to be uniquely cool cities, and
they do.
enjoy both of them. Vancouver's beautiful. No
Oh,
further explanation needed. But if I had to say my favorite trip, it's actually we don't usually do these three together, but if I could group them as a trip, that would be
okay.
my favorite. Is Tampa, Nashville, Dallas. Like that's right in my sweet spot
Oh,
of loving those areas. I'm a big music guy, country music especially. So Nashville
hey,
and
something
Dallas are yeah, Nashville and Dallas are great. I mean, to me, that was the worst part of the Global Series, Hales, that we didn't get to go to Nashville this year because I love that city. Um, but
yeah.
Nashville, Dallas, and Tampa to me are three of my favorites. I like Florida too, but sometimes when we're down there, this sounds so bougie. We stay closer to the rink and not on the beach, so it's a totally different experience. But I would
How
say,
dare
for for what it's worth, I like being outside. I like the sun, and I like good music and in places where I can hang out and listen to it. And
you?
Dallas and Nashville are great spots for that.
Yeah, Dallas is a really cool city too. I feel like where we stay, there's a lot to do, though, a lot to walk around and see. But in terms of like your favorite thing, like your best memory with something you got to do on the road, we don't usually get off days, but sometimes we do. All throughout your travels with the Pens, what would you say it would be? For me, it's Banff in Calgary, which is about an hour and a half from where we stay downtown. That was beautiful. I want to go back in the summer at some point. I'm sure that's up there for you, but you've been doing this longer than me. What was the favorite kind of road trip event that you've been able to do?
Banff is definitely up there. I've been twice. Last year I went with Joe Brand, our radio broadcaster.
Yep.
We did the whole Lake Louise hike and all that stuff, and it was beautiful. Because we went earlier in the year. I think we were there in October, so it wasn't bone chilling quite yet. But it was cool to be up there. Let me think here. Stuff that I've done that was cool. There's been a few like that have been unique just because of where we are. Like to me,
Yeah.
Boston's always cool. I have family there, so I enjoy going to Boston. I enjoy getting to bounce around in the North End and see
Mhm.
different spots of the city
Great
with
food.
my in-laws and my family. Philly's great. I have family there as well, and it's cool to bounce around there. But as far as experiences, I'm trying to think. I've been lucky enough where it's lined up that we can go to a couple concerts here and there. So
Yeah.
I've seen some good shows on the road. Dallas actually has been a couple of them. Saw Mitchell Tenpenny
Nice.
and Randy Hauser down there on separate occasions.
That's
So
awesome.
that was cool. Man, I feel like there's something I'm really missing that's obvious. I
Yeah.
did. So in Vancouver a couple years ago, I did the grouse grind, which
What
was
is that?
really cool. For those that are not familiar, it's a monster hike up. I think it's
Love hiking.
called Grouse Mountain in Vancouver. It's probably 15 to 20 minutes outside the city, but it is
Not bad.
I don't use this term often, but I think it is truly breathtaking. Like the views when you get up there, you look out, it's just the Canadian mountains, the forest, the trees, the water, like the nature and wildlife. I love kind of doing that stuff and hiking and getting off the grid. So like
Oh,
that stuff was beautiful. It was a little icy, so we didn't get quite to the top because we didn't have like the hiking ice boots and all that kind of stuff. But we
wow.
probably went 3/4 of the way up, and it was beautiful. So that's actually something I'm going to try to do again, provided the weather cooperates when we're in Vancouver on this trip. But it has to be right. Like if it's too cold, it's kind of dangerous to do without the
The
right
wind.
gear because it can get pretty windy and pretty icy. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the wind's the thing. I did not know about that. Thanks for telling me. I'm not on the trip this year, but next year, hopefully, I'll be able to do that. I love hiking. I always go for a walk along, what is the harbor, the bay there, right by where
Oh
we
yeah.
stay. That's
Beautiful. Yeah.
beautiful. See the whole skyline as you're walking. But yeah, Vancouver, I feel like is a very underrated city. Really, really pretty. My bucket list thing that I want to do though, Josh, is you see those videos, like the ODR videos of people just skating in between the mountains up in Canada. I think a lot of those videos probably come from Calgary or the Edmonton area, but there's got to be some spots like that in Vancouver too. Have you ever done that before? Just skated through like nothing but beautiful mountains?
I wish that was one thing I was hoping with Lake Louise because at a certain time
Yeah.
they do actually let people skate on that. And that would have been unbelievable.
Oh, do they?
I will say, I remember this is probably like 6 years ago. We were in Calgary and the team had an unannounced, it was very private except for the group. They did a practice at an outdoor rink in Calgary. And it was really cool because it was in a neighborhood. And as people started to figure it out and word spread, all these people were running out of their houses to this outdoor rink in the neighborhood. It was a chain link fence and leaning on the fence. It was freezing outside, but they didn't care. They were watching the Penguins practice and it was so unique. Like it was just like embracing that Western Canadian world and the Canadian outdoor hockey rink lifestyle. And so many of these guys, they their earliest memories are in that setting, right? So like that was really cool to see them go back to that. And even though we froze the entire time we were outside, it was cool to take it in and be a part of it. It was special.
That is so, so cool. Well, Josh, I hope you get to do that hike. I'll definitely write that down on my list for the next time I go to Western Canada. Hopefully not too cold, but a couple more games, hopefully a couple of wins for the Pens. And then you guys are off headed to Seattle, I believe, first. So best of luck on the trip. And that is going to do it for Get Me the Brandy. Thanks to everyone who joined us today.